parliamentary candidate Ben Ayiku. The Ledzokuku constituency has since 1996 been noted for not retaining a member of parliament. Either you lose in the primaries or you're booted out in the main election. It has also an interesting impact on who becomes the president of the republic. The best political team on radio here at the election headquarters will in the next 60 minutes make sense of the history, the numbers, personalities, and what the voters have been saying. And also, will attempt a verdict on who wins the Ledzokuku constituency. The battleground is the show. Stay tuned. I am Emefa Apawu. And as always, we are battle ready here on the battleground on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll get on the ground shortly and get straight into action. And here from the constituents, what they are saying, we have, as usual, a report put together by Joseph Akable, our producer of the show. And we'll get to know what the constituents of Ledzokuku are saying and who wins the Ledzokuku constituency seat. Will it be Dr. Bernard Okoboy or Ben Ayiku? But the team are ready. We have the head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, joining me in the studio. Via Zoom is Winston Amwa. He's the deputy head of our political desk. Of course, Joseph Akable is also with me. And at some point, Daniel Dazi will also join us. Evans, good evening.
Good evening. I'm looking forward to Ledzokuku. I mean, it's one of those places I say they really don't play. I mean, they don't play at all. I mean, when it comes to the way they voted over the last several elections, go back all the way to 1992, it tells you a story. It tells you a story of a constituency very astute in making a decision that reflects on the national one. If you want to see who is winning what, look at Ledzokuku. But something very interesting happened when Bernard Okoboy entered the scene, and that is what we're going to be examining, because he sort of changed the landscape slightly. Because Ledzokuku had not been known to be a skirt and blouse constituency until Dr. Okoboy stepped in. That is itself is a very interesting thing. You can spend a whole hour analyzing that.
Well, so let's just walk through those who have represented that constituency in Parliament. We start off from 1992. We know that the NPP did not participate in that contest, but we had Ni Ajay Boy Sikan, who represented the National Democratic Congress. Then in 1996, he again came and represented the National Democratic Congress. And then in 2000, we had Eddie Akita representing the New Patriotic Party. Then we had Dr. Gladys Nole-Ashite, also for the New Patriotic Party. Then in 2008, it turned. We had Ni Notedua for the NDC. Then in 2012, we have Benita Sena Okitidua for the National Democratic Congress. Then in 2016, like you're saying, we had Dr. Bernard Okoboy for the New Patriotic Party. So in 2020, will it be the NPP or the NDC? This is a region that people have described as a swing one, and then also the vote skirt and blouse. You've talked about how interesting that constituency is. But let me see if we have Winston Amwa joining us via Zoom. Winston, at this point you can unmute yourself and let's introduce you, welcome you properly into the show. Winston.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. I'm sure you are as excited as we are about the Ledzokuku. We can hear you, Winston. I'm asking how excited you are about going to Ledzokuku. What are you looking forward to?
I certainly am excited. Ledzokuku has a very unique, position when it comes to our politics, and later on we'll get into the analysis and see whether Bernard Okubo will be a second time lucky.
But I'm sure in one word or a sentence, Ledzokuku, what comes to mind anytime you hear Ledzokuku? A bit delayed Zoom there, but Winston Gamwa will join us together with the team as well. Joseph Akable is also here with us. Daniel Darcy will also join us. Of course, remember the Fix LECMA campaign now we embarked on as multimedia. That will play strongly in this discussion tonight as well. But it's a good time now to hear from the constituents of Ledzokuku, what they're thinking and what they're saying.
The Ledzokuku constituency covers areas including Tribleu, South and North Teshinungwa estates and Abolebu. The residents, including fisher folk who ply their trade along the coast, have their own concerns.
For us as the fisher folks, they have not even finished with the projects here for us to be able to assess them. If someone promises to give you a car but is yet to hand it over to you, there's little you can say till you get it. Even our roads have not been completed. This gutter has also been here for so many people keep dying and the politicians do nothing about it. But when it's time for elections, they'll come and promise new things, then abandon us after that.
This current MP brought a lot of harbour motors for the fishermen. I'm really impressed. It's never happened in Teshi. I only wish they had given them out on credit for more people to own some.
We are happy with Okoboy. You know the main trade here at Teshi is fishing, but there's no factory to process or store the fishes. If the waves get turbulent and you cannot swim, you die.
The constituency made news in 2019 when residents demanded that a 7.5-kilometer road that passes in front of the LECMA hospital is fixed.
It's a dusty ride and it's a bumpy ride here on the road stretching from Manette near Spintex to the LECMA hospital and running through to Labadi. I can hardly hear myself.
We have complained about this issue to government, but nothing has been done about it. Our MP came here during elections. He campaigned about this road. Our MP promised to fix the roads for us, but after elections, nothing has been done. All the roads linking to other parts of the communities are all in bad state. Just take a look at them. I'm even we plead that they do something about these
We voted for MPP because of this. We didn't vote because the NDC couldn't do anything about it.
This road has since been fixed with contractors placing level of completion over 80%. The residents who are vocal and passionate about development are looking forward to the December polls. The NPP's Bernard Okubo will be seeking to make history as being the first MP to be given a second term. The NDC's Benayiku will have none of that, but the voters will decide, and they took turns to make a case for their candidates.
You don't have to wait for all this while. Why has Okubo not be able to construct the road? And he waits for 3 months, 2 months for election before he start doing something. We've seen all this thing before. People start a project and they don't complete it. The NDC parliamentary candidate for Ledzokuku is taking the seat for great NDC and Ledzokuku this year.
Okubo will win this election with you imagine? Because Yehuso Okoboy Yobia is a young man with skills and vision and determination. Okoboy, Okasa who say Nyansa wom, Aba wom, Afutuo wom, Eman Penifo, Eman Kwada Nkwa Oma Bani Yufina, Adentina Mekasa. Okoboy achieve one skills. Okoboy MP Oba no onkita body gas. Hey, Honorable Ejumo Yeno. At least I see 3 days.
Honorable is really working. No matter how late it is, he's delivering. If you give me food, it's nothing. If you fix the drains, I'm happy. They are not done yet, but they are on it.
So now, Okoboy hasn't been able to fulfill, let's say, 30% of what he promised the people of Ledzokuku. Let me state it for a fact. A lot of things, more especially the link roads. You see, Tessie is one of the biggest. Ledzokuku is one of the biggest constituencies in Ghana. And when you come and you make some promises, at least those promises you should be able to fulfill them. You understand? All that we need in Tessie in Ledzokuku here are the link roads to be completed.
At this place, it's Ayiku who filled the road. Ayiku have done a lot. When you go to Nungwa, since former Kwekuma time, they have constructed all the link up roads. So when you go to Nungwa now, all the roads are quota. But Tessie here, look, go to Camp 2, from Camp 2 to 31st. The Senate have done the gutter. When Okoboy come to the gutter there, when they have come to for the long time, I live at 31st, but I don't pass to Camp 2 road to Legma because the roads are bad.
Simple. So Okoboy buy NDC when NDC rule. More than MPP.
NDC has held the seat for long, but when Oko took over, nothing had been done. When we came, this is how bad the roads were. He's now fixing the drains to pave way for the road. Drains are constructed before roads are made. Ask them what exactly the former MP did. They should tell us from which area to which area she constructed gutters. They should show us.
Gutters before road.
Previous government almost be but nowadays Osha Arana baby or can you got that. But honorable Okoboy and I'm saying or born homebody. To me, I like what he's doing. I like it.
While touring other parts of the constituency, we met Dr. Okoboy, who was busily engaging in communal labor. This was at the Camp 2 school park where a fence wall was being constructed around the cemetery.
Yeah, so this morning we are engaged in communal labor. This place is actually the cemetery for the Bugulan clan, which is one of the biggest clans in Tessie, Ledzokuku. I engaged elders of the clan, and it came out that they have the fencing of this place as a big project that they really want to undertake, but apparently they don't have the resources. So as part of my social projects, I decided to take up the project.
The NDC's Ben Ayiku has also been touring parts of the constituency, promising to lobby for a quota system from the military for residents, establish a housing scheme for health workers, and reconstruct major storm drains in the area. Only time will tell who will emerge victorious. The debate in the constituency will not end anytime soon.
constituents of Ledzokuku and their views in that interaction with my colleague Joseph Akabley. Your thoughts are welcome. If you're listening to us from Ledzokuku, it's a good time to join us via WhatsApp. It's 055-1111-997. We're also live on Facebook. Just feel free and post your comments there as well. But Joseph, I would like to start off with you. Once again, let me introduce my guests in the studio. And we have the head of our political desk, Evan Smith. Daniel Darcy is also with us in the studio. Joseph Akabley is also here. And then via Zoom, we have Winston Amwa also there. But Joseph, establish for us which particular areas you visited in the Ledzokuku constituency. We know how vast the constituency is.
Very big, and so we started from the Lekma Hospital area for good reasons. We were at Camp 2. We went to Teshi, specifically the coastal part of it.
So if you say Camp 2, that's Teshi Camp 2?
Teshi Camp 2, yes. We were also at Triblau, and there's an area that they call Malik. We also visited that area. So those were the areas we picked randomly and visited. Interesting
conversations you had there, but what are your thoughts in terms of the interactions you had with the people that you spoke to?
I think this is one area compared to the other constituency that we did last week at where it was very easy to find people who supported both sides. Okay. And so for the other constituency, it was leaning towards one side. It was very difficult to find others to argue for the other candidates. But in this particular area, and for those who watch the video on our social media platforms and on the Joy News channel as well, you realize that it got very heated to the extent that each time we were starting the interaction, I was just talking to one person. And while the others are listening, you hear someone saying that you are telling lies, I disagree with you. Then they come in and also come and express their views. And so you can call them as being very vocal. They are aware of the issues in the neighborhood and they have strong opinions and they want it to be heard. And so it is quite an interesting constituency. Another thing that struck me, and you hear them talk a lot about roads, I was very surprised. I mean, this is a constituency within Accra. And if you get off the Lekma Road, I mean, within the communities, well-developed communities in terms of people's homes. So it's not a case that you say that it's new settlement. But the roads linking the areas, it's really like in bad shape. And that's a major concern for the constituents. But apart from that, they also raise issues about drainage and other issues that comes up for them. So these are the main issues for constituents of Ledzokuku, you would say. Okay. But Evans, you and Daniel, you've also listened to the constituents of Ledzokuku. Daniel is key in this conversation because of the campaign, Fix Lekma. Now, we'll get into that much later. But Evans, I'm dying to hear your thoughts listening to Ledzokuku constituents.
Well, it just gives you a sense of what the picture is. Let's break the constituency down a bit more in terms of what we know over the elections. Blay will walk us through we'll talk about the demographics a bit, because I also found, looking at the statistics from the Ghana Statistical Service, the census, that they have a huge migrant population. And the single largest migrant population you find there is people who have migrated from the Volta region. We'll talk about that in the impact. Also, when we come to campaign strategy, we'll look at the sort of households that Ledzokuku has and which type of campaign it favors. Because one of the candidates, the NDC candidate, has a statement out tonight ahead of our show, detailing his strategy and why he's not going to join this particular show. But that tells you a story. We'll put it within what we know about the demographics. But let's talk about the politics, because the politics is important. We know Ledzokuku has always been a typical purist swing constituency from 1992, but broke ranks in 2016. That is why I say the Dr. Kobo factor changed the landscape a bit when it comes to the politics, the pure political numbers. Because it's only in 2016 that Ledzokuku then becomes a skirt and blouse constituency. Because it's always been the constituency that sort of predicted for you who wins the presidential elections. Now, but something I want to focus for a second on the presidential elections landscape in Ledzokuku, because that is interesting for me. I'll come to the parliamentary shortly. Now, JM won the presidential elections in Ledzokuku.
You're talking about 2016.
In 2016, right? However, the MPP parliamentary candidate won the elections, so that's a skirt and blouse.
By way of helping you with the figures, JM polled 44,406.
In fact, the difference is even more important. The difference, although the parliamentary candidate was more popular than the presidential candidate for the MPP, so Dr. Kobo was more popular than Nanado. Nanado lost the elections, but lost it with 450 votes only. JM won it with 450 votes. That margin is very, very small. If you come to the candidate, the parliamentary candidate, and I say he was more popular than his boss, the presidential candidate, he won his by 2,167 votes margin. So that clearly tells you who was more popular there. Okay, we'll come to what that means. But at the presidential level, the Ledzokuku has been a pure swing constituency. So in 1992-96, the NDC won that constituency, presidential-wise. In 2000-2004, the MPP won it when they won the national. We saw the story there. In 2008-2012, again, the NDC comes back. The story changes in 2016, as we said. It has consistently predicted the national outcome of the presidential elections every single election year. So whichever, at the presidential level, by the way, whoever wins it wins the national. Okay. Now, JM won the presidential contest there, but the NDC lost the national election. Okay. So that then changes the dynamics in the 2016 elections. Note that I've said that throughout 1992 all the way to 96, whoever wins presidential wins the national.
Exactly.
That changes. JM wins the presidential, but fails to win the national election.
So it changes with Bernard Okoboy.
So that makes it very difficult to predict what, because the trend has broken. So it makes it very difficult to predict what's going to happen in 2020. Because also of the margin, you could say that margin is something that the current president can close and overtake. But let me say something, it's pretty controversial, but the statistics back me up here. I believe that the constituency, when you look at it at the presidential elections, in terms of whether you could say it's a stronghold or not, although it's a swing, the NDC has won it 5 times. 5 times. Won it 92, 96, 2008, 12, 16. Right? 5 times as against 2 for the NPP. Now that tells you that in terms of the presidential level,
so then a quick correction: 2008 is not NPP. So
2008 is NPP.
So you're talking about 2000. You're talking about NPP or NDC?
Presidential. I'm talking about presidential. I'm talking about the presidential.
Yeah, the presidential.
The NDC. So you could say in terms of who has the upper hand, it leans very strongly towards the NDC. That you could almost say it's a stronghold, almost. Okay, because this is even where the statistics even backs me up here. Even in the 2 occasions when the NPP won the presidential elections, it's only in 1 case that they won it by more than 1%. Only 1 case, in 2000. They won it by 0.9%. I mean, in the first election, okay, it's more than that. They won it by almost 10%, right, in 2000. In the second year, when they won it again, they only did it by 0.9%. That tells us how small that gap is. So you could actually argue that at presidential level, this is an NDC place. This is an NDC place. So it wasn't pretty surprising when you saw what happened in the skirt and blouse voting. The story changes when it comes to the parliamentary level, with Okoboy entering the fray. Because at the parliamentary level, NDC has 4. NPP has 3 in terms of
that is if you are counting the 92,
which the NPP
I mean, I get it, but it's part of the elections. I mean, you can always add that caveat to it.
But I mean, they didn't.
You can always add that caveat to it. But before Okoboy came, remember that it was 4-2, right? So again, at the parliamentary level, the NDC shown his merit there. But then Okoboy comes and manages, although people were thought, I mean, when he got in the scheme, Benito Okitudua was there as an incumbent who was seeking re-election. I mean, we thought Okoboy didn't stand a chance. But he pulled in. And that is why I think that going to this election, again, we'll talk about Okoboy's main contender in this. Okoboy, again, for me, still appears to have a stronger hand going in. But when you begin to look at the issues that will influence elections, it may play against him. As in the roads, and Daniel listening. Because of the report that you played, the road seemed to be such a big issue. And I remember when you do the campaign, it seemed one of those things that really affected him.
In fact, when I was engaged in the constituents, there's this disagreement. Some hold the view that it's because of the agitation by residents and the media campaign. That's what led to the construction of the Lekma Road. In fact, there are 2 major billboards before and after the hospital. That has a photograph of the president and a photograph of Okoboy. And it has the inscription that, "Thank you, Okoboy, for Lekma Road." That is the road in front of the hospital.
Yeah. No, thank you to the media. No, thank you at all to the media.
The party at that level is making a big deal out of the road. They've not completed it entirely, but it's a dual road. One side they are done, there are portions that the other side is done. So what happens is if you are driving, you can use one side and you get onto the other side. So it's better than it was previously, and so they are claiming responsibility. But there are some of the residents who make the point that it's because of the agitation that led to the construction of the roads, and that if indeed roads were coming to the area, then we should see the roads in other parts of the area. So that is not happening, and so they make the point that
I'm wondering if Daniel has recovered from that tricycle ride on the Lekma Road.
I took another ride on that road, and it was much easier.
Much easier now.
Yeah, so
I must say, on that road.
It's about 80%.
Yeah,
also.
It's about 80% complete on that side of the road. Like Joseph said, it's been patched through, so it's not every part of it that the left-hand side is done. It's not every part of it that the right-hand side is done. So it's not complete, is what we can say, but it's definitely motorable. It's definitely and I was speaking to a real estate agent who was telling me that there's a small boom in plots and units around that area because of the construction of that road. So you can imagine how much it has done for them. It's an important road in itself because even though the Ledzokuku constituency has a lot of bad roads inside, it's one of the major roads that everyone drives out onto if you are exiting the constituency. So I used to live at Spintex. If you are leaving Spintex, you either use the beach road or you come through the bush road and come and use Lekma, or you find a way to drive your way through the bush road and still end up on the beach road. So Lekma, bush and the beach road are the two major, and when I say Lekma, I mean the Lekma road and the beach road are the two major roads that almost everyone who lives in that place will use at a point in time. If for nothing at all, you go to the hospital. So that key piece of infrastructure is something that would definitely register in the mind of someone who would vote in December.
And already the residents are saying that Dr. Okoboy cannot, take all the glory for that because it was as a result of the agitation of the residents, the constituents themselves, and of course the huge help from the media on that Lekma Road. But let's bring in Winston Amwa also. This time he's joining us via phone. We'll try again and see if we have a better connection to him. Winston, so we've been hearing the demographics, the dynamics of the Ledzokuku constituency, but I'm dying to hear your thoughts on what you heard in terms of what the constituents have been telling Joseph Akable.
Well, so Emefa, I think it's better now.
Much better.
Good. So, I was listening to Evans make the point about the dynamics in the constituency. I've heard Daniel. See, when you go into every constituency and people agitate, one of the things a member of parliament can always take credit for is that if he joins the agitation, particularly if his party is in government, then he says, you know what, we need to get these roads fixed. That person can say, when it mattered most, I stood with you and together we agitated and had the roads constructed. So, yes, you can always have the opposition say, he can't take credit. But for those who ply the road, they probably might say, he helped us get a thing. Now, one thing about Okoboy, which actually gives me a bit of an advantage, is this. Look, even though there are challenges within the constituency, having recognized the fact that he hasn't been able to do all the things that he promised, he's decided to use the emotional appeal. And Evans would agree with me that feelings that are formed by emotions cannot be dislodged by mere reasoning when it comes to politics. What am I talking about? So this is a man who consistently, still member of parliament, goes to the constituency and does the very things that he used to do which brought him to office. He's a member of parliament. He goes to consult at the Lekma Hospital. Having been made deputy health minister, one of the things he's done is to have mobile, if you could put it that way, I don't want to use mobile clinics, but he has, posts where you have nurses in there. People can readily go there. If it's very difficult, he's on call. They can call him and he can address the concerns of the people health-wise. What this means to the people is that I might be busy, but for you, I would consistently be there for you. So I heard Evans and, Akable talk about whether for the first time in the constituency, you're going to have a member of parliament winning twice. we would come to that. But based on the emotional attachment that Okoboy brings to his work, I think that the people this time around, and these people have a certain attitude. Look, if you go to the coastal area in the Greater Accra region, one of the things they look out for most also is one, whether you come from that area and whether you relate and associate with them. I know the question will be raised about, Benita Okitidua, but you can always, answer it this way. Benita Okitidua had a spouse who was well respected, very popular, and known within the enclave. She herself was very much admired by people, was down to earth with them, and so many persons would simply refer to her as Senna.
But that simply didn't do the magic for her.
No, it did the magic for her in 2012.
But not
somebody comes in 2016 who is better placed than she was when it comes to these same dynamics. Okay? And one of the challenges that members of parliament have always had is the moment they get into office, there's a bit of detachment also by virtue of the job they have to do. And in her case, she became a deputy minister. Mm-hmm. And that is where I say the advantage Okoboy has is that he's put in place measures that says, you know what, I may be a minister, I can't be there all the time, but the way I can help you are through these things that I have put in place. And the very things, the Boys' Voice movement that got him out there, he's still doing them.
Well, so Winston Amwa, there. These are just opening remarks, and already our time is fast spent. But you can join us if you are in the Ledzokuku constituency and you are listening to us. The WhatsApp line is 055-1111-997. I see some of your messages already. But those of you who live on the other part of town and wondering where Ledzokuku constituency is, Daniel and the rest, they've just come from the western side of town. But I'm sure quickly. Evans, walk us through where Ledzokuku constituency is. You've talked about the dynamics and all, but quickly we can talk about it.
It's one of the very popular constituencies, right? It's part of the famous LECMA, which is the Ledzokuku Kroa Municipal Assembly. Adano, you spend a lot of time there doing that campaign, so you tell us more about what you felt there. But the LECMA itself was one of those.
It's now Ledzokuku alone.
Exactly.
You know, just Ledzokuku.
Yeah, was one of those that was newly created district in 1st November 2007. And since then, it has played a very important role in deciding and shaping the political landscape of Ghana.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it is the demographics that really surprised me when I began to look at it, and I guess that's why it is such. I mean, constituencies that have a significant percentage of migrant population, they tend to be very interesting in the way they behave when it comes to. Oh, very unpredictable. I mean, so you let me give us. We'll go to Asawasi next week. So Asawasi is in the Ashanti region, strong region for the MPP. Yet they vote for the NDC. Why? Because of the migrant population. I noticed that they have a very strong migrant population from the Volta region. The Statistical Service actually puts a figure more than 30% of the migrant population come from the Volta region, and more than 20% from the Eastern. You know, if you want to be think about it politically, we know Volta region generally is a stronghold of the NDC. Eastern region also generally tends to be the stronghold of the MPP. But in terms of the percentages, in that area and the constituency you're talking about, there's a significant more. The percentage leans towards people who migrated from the Volta region than those who migrated from the Eastern region, according to the Statistical Service and the 2010 census. Now, Emefa, I'm dying to talk about the other candidate, the NDC candidate.
We'll get to him shortly.
Because when he has issued a statement tonight saying he will be part of this conversation.
And it's a good time to bring in that because I'll be going on the phone to speak to Dr. Bernardo Okoboy. Let's go through that statement quickly on what he's been saying so we can go on the phone.
This is what he's been saying. In essence says, we put out the poster, and the poster says, we put a picture of Mr. Okoboy, Dr. Okoboy, and him, asks who wins, right? But obviously, from what we understand, and Blair will tell the story, that in the constituency, this particular poster began to play within the political circles and then played into the political heat. So people were saying, oh, well, don't believe that he will show. That then got to the NDC. They issued a statement tonight saying, well, they've not been notified. We've called them severally.
Yes, we've reached out to them. We've tried to go through the party top hierarchy at the headquarters itself. We've gone through the constituent executives, and the point they kept making was that at this stage is concentrating on doing the house-to-house, the door-to-door campaign, and it's not ready for media engagements for now.
Yes.
Okay. But we understand that the MPP in the constituency, they are capitalized on this engagement, making the point that, in fact, advertising it and saying that it's a debate that they want to look forward to because they trust that Dr. Okoboy is very vocal, he's articulate, he can put across his ideas and make so if there will be a debate, you come tops, and so that is what they are capitalizing.
His main point, though, to us is to tell us his strategy. He says, my strategy is not to sit on radio in essence and debate. My strategy is to go to people's homes, do door-to-door, and meet people.
And for a constituency like that, does that win elections?
This is where I guess it gets interesting. Because if you look at the constituency, if you look at the 2010 census, it actually says that the compound houses are the most common type of dwelling. And if you live in a compound house before, you know what I mean. It's easier to campaign in the constituency where compound houses dominate. Because when you enter a compound house, you meet plenty families. If it is single houses, how do you call it? You have your own wall, and it's not a compound house. You have to knock on the door. People who live in these houses like myself, we don't tend to open gates that easily. You know, I'm very curious who is it. But compound houses, it's open. So it's easier to campaign, use the door-to-door ground game, going to people's homes in a constituency where more than 60% of the households is compound. He said that's what he's doing. But the dynamic here is that this is a very cosmopolitan area in Greater Accra.
So hold it at this point.
You should tell us.
Evans, let me make it simple for you. Evans, let me make it simple for you.
Guys,
right now, as we speak, the road into Teshi is probably choked with traffic. People are sitting in their cars.
And they are listening so let's bring in Dr. Bernardo Koboy. Guys, Evans and Daniel, let's bring in Dr. Bernardo Koboy. So at least he has agreed to be on the show tonight, and he joins us on the line. We are grateful for your time and joining us here on the battleground. So our interaction with some of your constituents, my panelists have described it as pretty balanced, at least different from what we saw in a Denton constituency. Some on your side, some on the side of your opponent for you. But what are the key issues for you going into these elections?
Yes, let me thank you very much. Let me thank Evans, and it's unfortunate that my opponent actually issued a statement that he had preferred to go into house to house than come to you. At least this tells you that coming.
But were you looking forward to him being on the show to debate?
Really, I'm not too surprised because I think I've experienced him once at a particular function. He's the kind that, should he come out, it will show more of his weakness than his strength.
What's that weakness?
I mean, I don't want to be like judging him, but when it comes to advocacy, making a case for his people, I mean, he's not the kind that can really string things together to make a strong case.
I don't get it. I'm struggling to understand. Is it that he doesn't have the ideas or he can't communicate it? What exactly is it?
I've learned how to be a diplomat, yeah, but bottom line, Ledzokuku is very cosmopolitan. You have people who belong to the upper class. You have people in the middle class. You have those who are not too privileged also. And all find themselves in one family. And the needs and the concerns of those who are by the beach is different from those at Palace Supermarket or Palace Mall. And those in the middle part of the community also have their own concerns. Infrastructure, roads, very, very key. There are many parts of the Ledzokuku constituency that don't even have drains. In fact, the outlay of the community is like driving 5 hours outside Accra. And that is what is interesting. Unlike the Ladere Kotopon or Krowo, where almost every town road is tarred. Ledzokuku wasn't like that until I came. So there's so much work to be done. And I'm happy that with the help of His Excellency and Honorable Makwata, the Lekma Road has been attended to. There are about 6 roads that are being worked on concurrently as I speak. It's the first time in the history of the community. You have roads like the Malik to Alloway Tribler Road being worked on. You have roads like the U2 to Siledi Road being worked on. The Pene Road being worked on. the Caribbean bypass to Bush Road work. So, I mean, the constituents have come to believe that with a strong, advocacy regime from a leader who is very well positioned and committed, it is possible to attend to their problems. And that is one of the things that has made the response very positive for both the government and my modest self. One other issue also has to do with conduct. Ledzokuku is a constituency where public impression is very, very important. They want to be convinced that you are someone who is in to serve and not to be served. And I thank God that I happen to be a physician. I have applied what I have to serve them. As we speak, I still consult at the Lekma Hospital. It is no secret. On Mondays, people come to the hospital. I'm consulting, attending to social problems. Whether NDC or MPP, you get a medical attention. Sometimes I even have to go to the hospital with drugs in my bag because people cannot afford some medications. Sometimes I have to go with cash as well because there are family problems which come with medical conditions. And beyond all this, I am someone who is very strong in terms of presence on the ground. Walking around, riding around my bicycle. I ride average 7 hours every Tuesday. 7 hours on the bike to touch every corner and be abreast with the problems so I can be part of the solution. And so, really, my confidence is high. But I also admit that one of the most difficult constituencies in this country is my constituency. And because of that, until the last ballot is counted, I am not someone who is taking a break. I have activities tomorrow, I have on Saturday, all the way. So it's fun, a lot of work.
Okay, but some key issues come up, and as we speak, your constituents are really getting interactive with us. I have some pictures, for instance, from the Teshi Fertilizer Road, they call it, I'm sure. I think it's a bridge, it's a wooden bridge, dilapidated, I would say. What exactly is the situation with that? Is that an area that you have your eyes on?
I think the good news for my people is that the road that leads from the Greater Roundabout, which goes straight down to the fertilizer and then connects to Krowo, is referred to as a Teshi North, they call it bypass. I hope I'm right. Now, luckily and thankfully to this government, that road is part of the other roads that is being done by First Sky, one of the contractors working on my roads. So really, they are at Tebibiano now. From there, they are moving to the Greater Roundabout all the way down, and they are building. They'll build a culvert which is bigger and will allow water to flow. So that is part of the plan. Not in the distant future. In weeks, next week, hopefully, they'll start mapping out for the drains. So we are in good hands.
Well, a few days or months to the election, mapping out has just begun. But some key issues came up also during the talk about the voting pattern of your area, for instance. So you won the 2016 elections by 45,259. But the candidate then, Nana Akufo-Addo, lost the main election, 43,956. There's talk among your constituents, for instance, that at least the side of the NPP and the NDC is that you did not work hard enough to campaign for Nanado as you did for yourself. So going into this election, how are we hoping that you turn around the fortunes of the president in that constituency?
Yeah, Emefa, let me quickly say that I think anyone who is politically active or who is an observer can speak to the fact that there are communities in the country where for some reason some people go like, okay, I identify with this particular candidate, but for some reason I want to vote for this president. That happens in both strong NDC communities and then our strongholds as well. It's across board. Now, let me make the point that candidate Mahama beat President Akufo-Addo in 2012 in the Ledzokuku constituency by a difference of about 13,000 votes. That was the gap, 13,000. Our candidate then, Dr. Nole Ashiti, also lost by a gap of 13,000 votes, 13,000. Now, in 2016, by the grace of God and with hard work, we closed the gap. The president closed the gap by a margin of about 12,300. What I mean is that the president lost just about 600 votes to John Dramani Mahama from 13,000 votes difference to 600. That is a lot of hard work and achievement by my team and the president himself. But I was able to close the 13,000 gap and win by just about 800 votes. So really, the difference between my votes and our president wasn't that much. I won by a slim margin. He lost by a slim margin. Because I am conscious of these statistics, it is the very reason why I don't tell people Ledzokuku is a done deal. I'm always on the road. And let me also quickly say that because of the monumental infrastructure projects that this president has embarked on in my constituency, the Lekma Road, the Teshi Landing Beach, my folks by the beach, the single project they've asked for the past 70 years is the landing beach. The landing beach was was designed and everything put on paper during Kufuor's regime before President Kufuor left. For 8 years, it was not touched. President Kufuor has started the project, and as I speak, it's about 45% complete. Because of that single project, if you watch the voting pattern along the beach, my folks right by the beach, they have a history of voting more or less for the DC. Because of that single project, we are very confident that this year, President Kufuor, for the first time in a long time, would win the majority of votes when it comes to the presidency.
Okay, so then at this point, let's run through some of the messages that your constituents are sending in. The one key area also for them is the Greater Estates Road. They say it's in a horrible state, yet you are fixing cameras instead on that road. You know about it?
Everybody, you know the camera is part of the car traffic program. It is across many constituencies. And as a leader, you must be able to take the job. I think the person mentioned the cameras to try and say that we are not paying the right attention. Look, because there was so much deficit to be handled when I came, we had to start with a lot of projects like Lekma, Sea Lady, Aloe, and all that. I was in a meeting this afternoon, and I mentioned to one of my advisors that the project, despite the many roads that have been working in Ledzokuku, the project that remains more or less outstanding, which we must get work on, is that of the Greater Road. Because I am the kind of MP who is always on the ground, I am familiar with every problem. What is maybe keeping the solution at bay, and what steps have been taken to handle it. And I'm glad to say that it's a problem I've put before the Chief Director, Eba Rose, and I've been informed that a contractor has been talked to try and pay attention. Okay. I'll continue to push it strongly because I know it's a problem.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can wish you the best at this point, Dr. Bernard Okoboy. Evans, Dr. Okoboy is saying hello to you and the team. And the team are wondering why you didn't give us any praise, at least for the fixing of the Lekma Road. But that's fine.
You have to take some, like 25 or 30%. I hope it's okay.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Okoboy.
Yes, Evans.
Yes, good to talk to you.
Nice.
And so, I mean, one of the things that will be coming to you for definitely is we're going to have another debate later about health on your manifesto. So we're going to be calling you on that.
And that's an invitation on PM Express on the battleground. Exactly. Thank you very much, Dr. Bernard Okoboy. That's the NPP's candidate for Ledzokuku constituency. We'll take the messages, loads and loads of them. Then we can quickly talk about Mr. Ben Ayiku, and then I'm waiting for that favorite part of the show where we get to hear who wins the Ledzokuku seat. And Evans, let's go through some of the messages.
Well, there's a lot of messages. I mean, this one, and people who live in Ledzokuku have been getting in touch in their numbers. This one says, well, the NDC candidate should have been part of this discipline to let us know his plan for the electorate. Thanks to Joy for this educative project. That's kudos. But he's explained why he's not here. He's not here because his approach is different. He wants to do ground game.
In terms of campaign strategy.
Come to your homes and talk to you.
But is he doing that? If you're in that constituency, let us know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Have you met him in your constituency? Please talk to us. Papa Ansa, Teshinungwa Estate. Teshinungwa is part of the Ledzokuku constituency. Please tell the Honorable that whenever he rides his bike for 7 hours every Tuesday, he doesn't visit the estate. Ask him again what is he doing about the liquid sewage water that runs through our gutters from the northern part of the estate.
I knew Papa would mention that.
But Akable, whilst you were there, you met him in the constituency doing what? You were going to tell us earlier.
He was engaged in communal labor. His bicycle, I saw the bicycle too. The bicycle had been put at the back of the car because he had just stopped and they put it at the back of the car. But he was fetching sand and mixing concrete and working with the people. They were actually putting up.
He's managed to build a very interesting image for himself. I was very interested to find that you find Fisher folk supporting a man who is always wearing a suit and a bow tie. It's not a very usual thing to do. You see, Bernard Okobo is a very young person. He's actually contested in the National Science and Maths quiz before for Prosec.
Yeah.
That's how young he is.
But
and he was made board chair of Kolebu Teaching Hospital. That's the first thing that made me notice him. Like, who is this person?
You know before that?
Oh no! It made me actually look at him. He made me actually look at him.
More of the messages, please.
I was wondering.
Evans, we have more of the messages.
And this one says, I live around Kamtu Teshi. Majority of the people here are unemployed. The Teshi Kamtu road is awful. Indeed, the problems are mirrored. So, sense of development, he says. Papa and son says, Honorable Loco has to do more with our roads in the Teshi estate as compared to the Nungwa one. We have bad roads in the estate. So the names of these interesting areas are important to just get a picture of what it is. So these are the areas that struggle with development. To Teshi, Nungwa, etc. But the Ledzokuku area also arguably, Daniel, for me, is also hosts what I consider to be in Ghana, possibly the most valuable piece of real estate anywhere in this country,
Airport Hill,
which is the Airport Hill. So that entire stretch there, including Palace.
But how many people live there is the question.
No, but of course I get it. I mean, I get it. It's a small population, but it just gives the disparity, sort of understanding of the layout when it comes to demography. So have a huge part.
So from Airport Hills to the Inshona.
Exactly.
So Benaiko is a good time to also talk about Benaiko. We haven't spoken much about him.
Look, I just tried to dig up on him. He's been doing a lot of work in the constituency. Ground game is true. He, for example, spent a lot of money paying bills for pregnant women who delivered at Lekma, who were detained because they didn't have money and they were kept there. He went in, paid their bills for them. You know, this was in August, right? Paid their bills for them to be discharged from the hospital. I mean, so that's something that he's been doing. That's not all. During the coronavirus thing, he donated PPEs, to combat the virus, etc. And so this is the ground game he says he's doing. This is what he prefers to do than expose himself, I guess.
What's his constituency? I want to know. What's his constituency within the constituency?
What is his constituency?
Yeah, where is he from? Is he coming? Is he playing a gun card? Is he identifying more with the people on the ground? Because I would say, if I were to advise Benaiku, I would say go to the fishermen. Fishermen in every election in this country are not satisfied. Premix has never satisfied any fisherman in this country.
But I had some fishermen in his report.
Yeah,
very
interesting. Some of them were satisfied.
I wonder how much, but even with him, even with that fisherman who said Okobo is doing well, he still complained about free mix oil.
Yes, he did.
You remember?
Then there was another one who was also making a point about the fact that they were trying to make it a landing beach of a sort, and they had not finished with the work then. So
and then it also started an argument about what he had done, right? Yeah. In 2008, every fishing constituency voted NDC. 2008. Every single one of them. And it was mainly because of this whole Operation Stock Control that Gladys Asma started. And so if I were Benaiko, I'd start from there. And I'll try to use the fact that Okoboy is more of, a dada bar. He's walking around in the hospital thinking that is
bicycles.
It depends on how you can spin it, because you come from being a deputy minister and you come and ride the bicycle. I think that is Benaiko's entry into the conversation. And then you start to talk about the things that this election will determine the most, which will be jobs.
He definitely needs to raise his profile.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, everybody else who's held that seat had a certain public profile before they went in and when they went in. You went through the list of the individuals who've held that seat before. I mean, from Benito Okitidua, when she went in, while she was there, raised her profile. We've seen Okoboy himself before.
But before Okoboy went in, was he that smart of a figure?
Okoboy was known. Okoboy was known
in the constituency or in the party.
I mean, I'm talking about people have heard him. He was his clout.
Before he came, before he went to parliament.
So, are you ready for the predictions? Are you ready for the predictions? Maybe we'll start with Winston, if he's still with us on the phone. So, hearing what you've heard, knowing what you know from Ledzokuku, between Dr. Bernard Okoboy and Dr. Benayiku, are you able to predict?
Emefa, let me just say, Daniel was making a point about going to, the fisher folk. One of the things you should always appreciate when it comes to politics and the fisher folks is that aside everything, they would also look at the relationship the person has. Of course, issues with premix always would matter. But when they can look at it and say, you have played no role in the challenges we have had, they wouldn't punish you because they're having challenges with premix. And there were other coastal constituencies, fishing constituencies, that the NPP won in 2008, even though they had issues with premix. The challenge with Benayiku deciding not to engage in this kind of discussion is that for the elitist community in Ledzokuku, they ask themselves, you are supposed to be our representative, you're supposed to be our chief advocate.
Yeah.
If you decide not to engage in debates, how would you be engaging in debates in parliament?
Winston, so quickly, your prediction, you have 30 seconds.
I think it's Okoboy's to lose.
Okay, thank you very much. Okoboy to lose, he says. Now, Evans, what's yours?
I agree with that.
You agree with what?
I agree with Winston. It's Okoboy to lose.
Okay, Daniel?
I'm still on the fence.
Akable, you've been to the constituency. Your prediction?
I think Okoboy has the upper hand for now.
Okay. And that's the battleground from the Ledzokuku constituency. And this one says Okoboy has to do more with our roads in the Teshi estates to compare to the Nungwa one. Another one says Winston's analysis up to the point. This one says, but I think Okoboy's managers may be his downfall. Pasi Atabuma says, please tell Winston that Dr. Okoboy will lose because he betrayed the people of Teshi during the Sesabumo climax of the Homo Festival. Thanks so much for participating in tonight's edition of The Battleground with your comments via WhatsApp. The next edition will come your way next Thursday, exactly at 8 p.m. here on Joy 99.7 FM. I am Emefa Apawu. Time now for Headline News at 9.
Emefa, so in this